Hey, what's happening, everybody? This is that boy, Rick Titus. This is that boy, Rick Titus. Listen, we want to talk about this exquisite podcast. Listen, we got a professional photographer. I'm gonna jump right on into this thing. We got a professional photographer in the back office. We're gonna talk about getting that photo done, getting that banquet event space done, graduation, baby shower, birthday parties, kids party, wife and husband parties. Book your event right now for next month. Do that, boy, with Exquisite Podcast. We got some events that we can do in our facility. We got an 8-foot square facility. 8-foot square, 8,000 foot of location. Square foot, 8,000 square foot. Yeah. Come and see that boy Rick Titus at Exquisite Podcast, located in Waldorf, Maryland, at the St. Charles Town Center Mall, right around the corner from J.C. Penney's. You know, come and bounce with us. Come and climb on in with us. You know, I wanted to mention that with the booking information. Book your event right now. Book your event right now, so you can go ahead and get your birthday party, your baby showers, your graduation party, your wife and husband picture, your family pictures, your wife and your husband, your grandmother, your granddaddy, your aunts, your niece, your nephews. Bring them on down. Bring them on down. Then one other thing I want to mention before we get into the podcast and the ministry, we do kids events on Saturday. You bring your kids out so they can have some fun. And it's only $5 per child per hour. Bring the kids on out every Saturday. They can go ahead and get that gumball. They can go ahead and get that claw machine. They can got that bouncing ball that's in their facility. We got an 8,000 square foot facility, man. Let those kids release some of that stress, mama. Bring them on down to St. Charles Mall, St. Charles Town Center Mall in Waldorf, Maryland, right around the corner from J.C. Penney. Everybody in the DMV know where Waldorf, Maryland is located at. So bring them kids on out so they can have some fun. Come on and climb on in with that boy, Rick Titus. So listen, let's jump into the podcast. We're screaming podcasters. A lot of people comes up to the desk and say, hey, well, Rick, I don't even know what I need to say on a podcast. Look, man. Look, young lady, all you got to do is talk about anything. You can talk about religion. You can talk about entertainment. You can talk about sports. You can talk about news. You can talk about health and wellness. You can talk about a book that you've written or a book that you're about to write. You can start advertising your business. Let that boy Rick Titus do the heavy work for you at Exquisite Podcast and get that podcast done. Get that podcast scream. Start screaming your podcast so people can hear you and see you. And listen, you don't have to come to the studio to get your podcast scream. All you got to do is just have a mobile phone or a laptop or a desktop and high-speed internet, and let that boy Rick Titus do all of the lifting for you. You might not have the location. You might not have that panel board. You might not have the camera. You might not have the backdrops. You might not have the markup. Let that boy Rick Titus do that for you. Let that boy Rick Titus do the heavy lifting for you at Exquisite Podcast. So now let's talk about the ministry. We got some ministries already on board. We got some podcasters already on board. We're trying to build our empire. We're trying to build our scale. So you pastors out there that have ministry, listen. Some of you pastors out there got some great material, but this is the deal. Nobody is seeing your program. Nobody is seeing your material. Nobody is seeing your literature. You are not climbing that crossroad to pull somebody up. Somebody might need to hear your word, Pastor. So let that boy, Rick Titus, do all of the heavy lifting for you. All you need to do is have a cell phone, have a laptop, a desktop, and high-speed internet, and we can start screaming your service, start screaming your ministry. Huh? There's a lot of good pastors out there, but nobody knows them. Nobody's seen them. Nobody heard of them. So we can start getting you screaming. Screaming is where it's at, pastors. Screaming is where it's at, podcasters. So you got to learn how to adapt with the time. Let me drink some of this tea that I got here. Martin. Yeah, so come on out and let that boy Rick Titus scream your podcast. You don't have to be in the studio. You can be international. You can be in the USA. So let us go ahead and scream your podcast. Let us go ahead and scream your ministers, pastor, if you want to touch somebody. If you want to touch somebody, pastor. So let's go ahead and get this thing here popping. Come on and climb on in with Exquisite Podcast with that boy, Rick Titus. Come on, let's go ahead and do some work. Let's go ahead and do something special. Let's go ahead and do something great. Let's go ahead and share that information, pastor, to somebody that's in the hole, that's trying to dig. But every time they're digging, they're not going nowhere. I'm going to say that again, pastor. For somebody that's in the hole digging, but they're digging, but they can't get out. Huh? So you might need to touch him or her. You understand what I'm saying, pastors? Come on and let that boy Rick Titus scream your ministry. Come on out and let that boy Rick Titus scream your podcast. All right, family? Work with me, family. We're located in Waldorf, Maryland, at the St. Charles Town Center Mall, right around the corner from J.C. Penney. I'm going to leave a link in the description. I'm going to leave some information that you can get in touch with that boy, Rick Titus, with Exquisite Podcast. So we can start screaming your podcast. We can start screaming your ministry. We can start screaming and screaming and screaming. This is that boy, Rick Titus, with Exquisite Podcast. I'll see you in another video. But guess what? Who said it couldn't be done?